morning. This is Matt from Trail Rider Camp, and we are out here at the far eastern trailhead of the Panhandle Trail, located in a little town called Oakdale. I oftentimes say it's the Carnegie end because you're closest to the Carnegie exit of I-79, the main highway that runs through here. And it's late December, it's December 28th. We've had a kind of unseasonably high spike in temperature. It's about 55 degrees, so I figured I would head out to the trail. And of course, I'm not the only one. Probably the biggest drawback of this end of the trail, unlike the Weirton end, is that parking is very, very limited. So literally, if I kind of walk over this way, it's kind of hard to see behind me, but you have a very small lot that only fits 5 cars on this side of the road. And then across the road, where the trail kind of continues, you have another lot that you can maybe fit 7 or 8 cars at most. And then behind me, there's a slightly larger lot that sits down below.
Hold on to you.
Where you can maybe fit like another, 20 cars, maybe 15 cars at most. And it's 10:30 in the morning, and every single one of these lots is full. I literally got the last spot in the one that I'm in. Again, it's a Saturday, it's over break, it's a big bump in temperature, so it makes sense that everybody's out here. But at the same time, this is a regular problem. Anytime I've ever been out to this trail, there's almost always not enough parking at this end, and so you end up kind of having to work your way down the trail parking lot by parking lot to see what's open. So to me, that's the biggest drawback of the Panhandle Trail if starting from this direction. Now in terms of my ride today, I'm hoping to get in about 30 miles. So from here, again, 15 miles in or so to where I left off last time. Slipping my mind off the top of my head where that is exactly. I'll bring it up in a future clip here. But hoping to get a good 15 miles in, 15 miles back, and that way between the last video and this video, you get a chance to kind of get a sense of the entire trail. So here we go. So officially on the trail, and again, there's a lot of people on the trail today, right around at least this trailhead. You have a dog park literally right there, and then you can see a bunch of kind of public little areas. There's a fire ring off to the side. There's a beautiful little kind of, almost looks like a swim hole in a creek, and you're kind of down in this ravine. So really picturesque, like within the first 0.1 miles of getting on the trail. Nice crushed limestone, little damp as we got some rain last night, but not bad. So still within the first mile or so here. And there's actually a bunch of hiking trails that kind of shoot off to the sides as well that are well marked, including one with a big sign that says Fossil Cliffs. Now, I've never done the hiking trails, I've only biked here, but just be aware, if you're somebody that likes taking your time, getting off the bike, walking back in the woods as well, there's definitely places you can kind of chain it up, around a tree or, something like the railing here of this bridge. And then you can take advantage of that also. I also went past the second parking lot, which likewise is very small. And I parked there before it connects off the backside of a neighborhood. And it was completely full. So that is my recommendation, is if you are coming out here and planning on doing this end, especially if it's a weekend with good weather, you need to get here early, because it will most likely fill up, and then you'll be ping-ponging from parking lot to parking lot to parking lot looking for spots. So I'm a little bit more than 2 miles in. I'm at the Gregg Station parking lot, and again, this is how small most lots are. Maybe enough for 7, 8 cars at most, and this one has the most openings, but you can kind of see behind me what's typical on the first few miles of this trail is a lot of infrastructure. Nice covered seating area. Over the other shoulder here, you got a porta-john. Back that way, there was another set of benches kind of looking out on a pretty stream. There's too many people for me to take a video. You had some an air station and repair station for your bike. So there's a lot of amenities the first, again, few miles here of the trail. So I'm almost to mile 4, and I just went through kind of the town of Oakdale proper, and you have a pretty busy road crossing there. I think that's the 3rd road crossing so far of the trail in 4 miles, and they're all pretty busy roads. One of the observations I kind of made as I was coming into Oakdale is like, this is the stretch of the trail where kind of the suburban ring of Pittsburgh starts kind of melting away, and you start seeing kind of a more rural vibe, both in terms of definitely more in the way of kind of industrial stuff like around the trail, but also just in terms of some absolutely beautiful old country style homes side by side with, you know, frankly, some really old dilapidated homes. So that was one thing I took in. But the other thing in Oakdale itself is the Helicon Brewing Company. It's right on trail. They have a huge parking lot. They're very biker friendly. And during warmer weather, they open up all the sides, and they have pinball, and it's family friendly, and they have fantastic beer. And a lot of people actually go and order beers and then just sit in their car. So they like tailgate. And that was something that they started kind of doing in COVID. And they just kind of continued with it. And so you again come here on a weekend during better weather, and that place is booming. Now it's, again, early in the morning, they're not open yet. So it was crowded when I kind of went past, and I figured maybe on my way back, if they're open, I can get maybe a better snapshot of what Helicon looks like. But it's an awesome place, you know, by itself. Gives the food drink rating on this part of the trail, you know, top-notch scores, because I can tell you, you know, you go on a long ride, you come back, you stop there to rehydrate kind of right before the end, and it's fantastic. About 5.5 miles in the little town of Sturgeon, and there's a pizza place, Hunter's Pizza, right off the trail. And there's another restaurant over there, Fallon Tours, and a bigger parking lot for sure. Some bathrooms, covered seating. So a good place for a potential break, or if you want to stay out of the denser areas of the trail at the far eastern trailhead, maybe start here. So I just crossed the road, and there's a little sign that said "Welcome to Washington County," and I actually saw a little sign designating this as part of, you know, the Great American Rail Trail, which I've actually never seen a sign saying that before. And then the second that I crossed into Washington County, all of a sudden the trail turns to paved asphalt. It looks pretty new paved asphalt. So if you've been wondering in the previous clips why I sounded like I was kind of huffing and puffing, it's primarily because, again, it rained last night. The trail to this point was crushed limestone, and we'd had about 3 inches of snow right before Christmas that all has melted in the past 24 hours. So the crushed limestone parts are tough sledding for sure, only going about 10 miles an hour. And now that I'm on asphalt, should be able to speed up significantly. So I'm coming up on the what's probably the biggest town in this stretch, which is a town called McDonald. And you can see the size, you know, the buildings, and it's, you know, it's a proper sized town. It's not like some of the smaller ones that we crossed through up to this point. And you got this nice little covered Wilson's Mill commemorating it. And then there's some businesses. There's the trail station business right over there. There's some other restaurants right up over the hill there. So you can easily go down this main road off the trail to access a bunch of different services. And I failed to mention, right where I taped in McDonald, literally right there is a Giant Eagle grocery store as well. So if anybody is stumbling across this video as part of scouting a much larger trip, maybe along the Great American Rail Trail, and you need to stop and resupply, Giant Eagles usually stock a pretty wide variety of stuff. Price point's pretty high, but just know that that's there, right there, McDonald, right on trail. So right up there is the McDonald Viaduct that I rode across in one of my Montour Trail videos as part of the Montour Trail. I know it's hard to see through all the brush here, but it's large and it's impressive and you feel high up. And then right down the trail here is where the two trails connect together. So I'm just driving through the little town of Midway, and there's homes off of the trail kind of on both sides, and a few restaurants down below to the left also. I think I saw a pizza place from afar. But now, I would say that the trail has much more the feel that it does all the way from here, well into West Virginia, where you just kind of have the scattering of rural homes, double wide trailers, kind of random garbage piled up, and then you have kind of like a very thin line of trees on both sides of the trail, and you're kind of looking into people's backyards or you're looking into fields. So not really scenic in this stretch at all. I would say that overall the best scenery is literally within the first half mile of starting the trail, at the beginning of the ride. So I'm at about mile 12 and a half, and the town that I'm planning on turning around at is Bulger, PA, which is around 15 miles in. And so I stopped last time somewhere around Bulger. But it's funny because up to this point, I've been going maybe between 10 to 11 miles an hour. It's been pretty slow going. I haven't really noticed much in the way of uphills or downhills. And then all of a sudden, just recently, without me doing much more work, all of a sudden my speed has jumped up to about 15 or 16. So to me, even though I can't really see the difference, I can feel that we're starting kind of that downward decline that pretty much continues unabated until you get to the Ohio River. Which makes sense. You're always going to be going to the low point as you get near a body of water. So, again, it's noticeable around mile 12 and a half. All right, so I officially hit 15 miles in, and I know for sure that there's some overlap there because I could see a few landmarks in Bulger that I recognize. But like you said, this has pretty much been unchanged landscape for the past, 4 miles or so, 5 miles, I don't know. It's just kind of the same thing, not really much to look at. So I'm going to turn around and start the 15 miles back to my car. Nothing screams small town America like retired artillery pieces. So there's the Montour Trail connector path. You got a highway going overhead, main trail, little sign, and there's another sign over there. So it's a little bit hard to see if you're flying past, but both times, I noticed it. So just be aware, it's right past McDonald, right past that McDonald Viaduct. So there's the Giant Eagle I was talking about before, literally right there, just across the road. So here's Helicon Brewery, and they got a food truck out front like they oftentimes do, and some outdoor picnic tables. Like I said, today they got the hatches battened down, but in the summer this is all open. And then you see you're like stone's throw off the trail, and this is about 3.5 miles from the eastern terminus. So a lot of people like to park here, ride, come back, hydrate, and it's worth it. They have fantastic beer. So last half mile here of the trail, and you see beautiful rock formations and creek down below. So here's a cool little kind of social area. You got this like beautiful rock wall. It drops down to some water there. And you have a fire pit. Picnic tables that look down on it. Covered pavilion over there with some like hiking trails back in the woods. Really, really pretty. But again, that's probably the prettiest single thing on the entire trail, and it's in the first few hundred yards after the parking lot. So the parking lot's right up here, a lot of people right up here, so I'm going to log off and I'll chime back in with my reflections after the fact at home. Alright, so I'm back home and it's time for my summary remarks on this stretch of the Panhandle Trail. So from a scenery perspective, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Like the Weirton side, there's really not much to look at other than people's backyards, with the small exception of that first half mile or so, right near the eastern trailhead. Surface rideability, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now, you could kind of divide this into two parts. The first part is crushed limestone up until you hit the Washington County line. That is pretty sandy, and when it's damp, you tend to sink quite a bit. Then you hit Washington County, and it turns into asphalt, and it's smooth sailing from there. So kind of a tale of two trails. Food and drink, this is the ultimate food and drink stretch of trail. Tons of options to stop and get a bite to eat. Lots of picnic tables and stuff. Most notable being Helicon Brewery. Parking, 3 out of 5. I remarked a few times that the parking, though numerous in terms of number of lots, the lots tend to be very small and they tend to fill up, especially at the eastern end. So I gave that a 3 out of 5. Facilities, 5 out of 5. Tons of bathrooms, tons of picnic tables, tons of benches. I even saw an air fill up and repair station, as well as a little trailside water station. Now, I'm assuming that's not open year round, but I did note it and it was there. Wildlife, 0 out of 5. Didn't see a speck of wildlife whatsoever on either ride on the Panhandle Trail this year. Safety, I gave it a 3 out of 5. There are a number of road crossings early on where there's pretty fast moving traffic, and there's a lot of traffic. I'm thinking of Oakdale, and as you kind of get into McDonald's specifically. So it's something I wouldn't shy away from bringing a child, but just know that it can be faster moving than many crossings. Fun, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I wasn't making any stops along the way. I was just looking to get out, get some exercise on a nice winter day. I always feel like this is one that, can be a little bit biased depending on companionship and kind of the overall conditions of the day. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. Wasn't a bad day out. Wasn't anything notable. And so for a total, I gave it a 31 out of 50. I think I gave my score of the Weirton end a higher score. And again, I've been out on this trail a number of times over the years, and for the most part, I've had an enjoyable time. If you're looking out to just get an exercise and get some miles in, it's good for that. If you're looking for a challenge, there are parts of it that are a challenge. If you're looking for some good food and to make this a social ride with friends, it can definitely be that as well.